Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back another Hong Kong content review, diving into some weird and wonderful films from the watch pile and from the kind of the watch list of Hong Kong cinema. There's been quite a few films that I've had my eye on for quite some time, but have not been very easy access for various different reasons, whether it's on a really out-of-print DVD or maybe it's on a hyper Blu-ray. Some have been available on digital, some have been available to rent. So there's been quite a few films that I've been wanting to check out for quite some time, and having some free time recently, I've managed to kind of sort out for some of those films. And this one has been one that's been highly on my list for quite a few different reasons, which ties into some of the directors and stars that I've been kind of following recently, and obviously being Tsui Hark being a very hot ticket director, writer, collaborator that I've been exploring a little bit more of just by circumstance for the films that I've been checking out, and I've been more curious to check out a few more of his films quite recently, so my mind definitely goes in different tangents and directions. So I hope you guys don't mind that and go on with me on this journey, and hopefully recommend some pretty interesting films. And with this one, we're talking about Web of Deception, released in 1989, directed by David Chung, which I have two of his previous films from The Magnificent Warriors and Royal Warriors, which was absolutely fantastic, a great releases. This director has only done a handful of movies, I think, about five or six movies potentially. I'm not too sure exactly what's happened with this director in terms of during the kind of the peak kind of 80s going into just about the 90s, and then just start making films. I will do a bit more research into it and explore a bit more into why he started making films, but they both got a really unique vision behind them, and I think they definitely really pop on screen for sure, and I think they're quite significant for Michelle Yeoh's kind of early career getting into action cinema. Now, Web of Deception has been a film I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Got three excellent powerhouse performances and actresses that are top of their game, mid-80s. You've got a great director that I've already liked his previous work with, and you've got, you know, produced by Tsui Hark as well. So you've got a lot of kind of tick boxes that are already going, and diving into kind of a more traditional stage piece, Hitchcockian kind of intense kind of thriller can go one way or the other, as mentioned. And, you know, I've seen variations of, you know, Hong Kong movies doing riffs on kind of Western movies, or adaptations of older kind of Hitchcock films or horror movies. So it's always curious to see what way they're going to go. They're going to go too far, they're not going to go far enough, or is it going to be category 3? Is it just going to be more of a tasteful film? I wasn't too sure what to expect with this film, didn't see any kind of footage, and I'm glad I went in kind of relatively blind and kind of just seeing what the kind of the film unravels as the film goes along. And I'd say it's a bit more in line with something like The Big Nothing, which is a great film. Simon Pegg's in that. I absolutely recommend that. It's a very underrated movie, but I'd say it's more like that. It's more central within one location. There's a few kind of offices here and there, but central performances, all about the filmmaking in terms of the attention, how to kind of keep the characters from not blowing the lids too much straight away, and defining who these individual people are in terms of their motivations, why they're doing what they're doing, how you create tension, how you create some horror in places, how you take away items, add in items in terms of a gun or a knife. How do you craft a tension-filled thriller and make these kind of performances really realistic to what the film's trying to go for, but also try not to go too far in the kind of the melodrama Hong Kong kind of shenanigans, which he kind of is scratching at the surface, but does it go the category 3, super violent, maybe nudity, explicit nudity? Which direction does it go? And it goes the tasteful, straightforward route, all about the filmmaking, all about the performances, as mentioned. And that's one of the reasons why I really want to check this film out, and being the fact that the reviews and the kind of the scoring is pretty high, but not many people have had a chance to check this one out, because it does have a out-of-print DVD, as mentioned, is part of the Princess Library catalog, which is Shout Factory's picked up now, part of the 156 films. So this definitely could get a Blu-ray release. I do have a sneaking suspicion it might get dumped in alongside a double pack or a collection of films potentially, which will be a damn shame. But I definitely think this is one for 88 films category for 100%, definitely up their wheelhouse, and definitely one deserves a good HD release with some new extras talking about the film. And now the storyline for Web of Deception is quite simple. You've got Bridget Lin's character, kind of a businesswoman, someone who's created a kind of a empire herself. She's basically going to move over to Canada soon because of basically the merger that's happening, and she's seeking for a kind of, you know, move away from Hong Kong essentially by this point. And she's being blackmailed by, you know, by a mysterious person wanting quite a lot of money, I think 1.1 million in terms of the kind of the stock. And she, you know, this blackmailer knows that she has a very specific amount of money that she can get from her, and basically she's trying to find out who the person responsible is. She's got her own kind of tactics. She's not squeaky clean herself. She is has some her methods that she can find out, and she kind of knows what to do in terms of the blackmail. She has tape recorders. She's kind of suspicious of everyone, really, and that really portion of part of the film I think is quite good, because you get a sense of who her character is, her pressures in terms of the kind of the stock, and there's money that she does owe in terms of the kind of the falling kind of, you know, economical crisis that's happening during that time, which is quite interesting. She has an assistant, which is played by Paula Wong's character, which is from the Mr. Vampire and Her Vengeance. She's a very loyal kind of assistant in the film, and she's been with her for quite some time. And basically you've got another character from called Mimi, which is basically being taken to Canada with her and leaving behind the kind of assistant. Now it's revealed very early on in the film that basically her assistant, Pauline Wong's character, is basically the one blackmailing her. She feels kind of robbed and cheated. She's given many years loyal service to her boss, and she feels like she earned the right to kind of basically get a promotion or go to Canada with her and join the kind of the spoils. Essentially, she's helped build her up, and she's going to be left behind, and she's going to have to find a new job. And, you know, and she's basically pissed off and angry and very annoyed. But her character is quite sympathetic. She's basically just looking out for her own interests. She's going about it completely the wrong way, and she even knows it herself. She's not really a good blackmailer, and she's just kind of going through the emotions and basically trying to figure out what's best for her during that time. And she's just kind of annoyed. And the way that the kind of Bridget Lynn does treat her, I can understand that to some extent. It's kind of like kind of passive-aggressive kind of nature in terms of, oh, I'm hungry, make me noodles, or go and do this. Basically a secretary in every single manner in terms of making your food, picking up things, you know, taking phone calls, arranging appointments, doing all that really hard work. You know, obviously Bridget Lynn's also worked hard for, but obviously the assistant does feel like she earns coming alongside that journey with her. And now she has a roommate and a friend basically called Queenie, which is played by Joey Wong. Then you've got the twin sister character called Catherine, if I'm not mistaken, which is basically a prostitute essentially, and she owes money to some gangsters. That's very minuscule in the film. It's very brief. It's not like crucial to the film. It just adds a little bit of tension. Basically, you find out a little bit of what's going on there in terms of the two sisters, being the fact that Joey Wong is playing both characters, which is really cool. One's a bit more kind of innocent, a bit more kind of shyer, and one is a bit more outspoken, and a bit more kind of, you know, obviously being a prostitute, she's a bit more kind of flirtatious. And you've got a really good, strong performance by Joey Wong. You know, she plays both sides of the coin really well. Something does happen within the middle act of the film, which having to Joey Wong character to step up in terms of, you know, what's going on in terms of the situation, but also her character definitely goes for a bit more of a deliciously evil kind of performance. She gets really kind of nasty, and doesn't go too violent, but more psychotic. She's definitely not very happy with what's happened, what's taken place, and then she feels like revenge is needed to kind of settle the score. And, you know, there is some interesting kind of moments in her performance, which I really appreciate. And she definitely is that kind of just that kind of cracking kind of performance where you can see it in her eyes, her smile, where she's just kind of enjoying the fact that she's going to basically kill this person or take her down essentially. And that brings up some really intense drama and some interesting kind of back and forth in terms of dialogue and the subtle performances. And I think Joey Wong really steps up in this film, and I think it's a really strong performance, very similar to Green Snake as mentioned, where I feel she did a really good job in that. I think she does a really good job here, and definitely trying to kind of, you know, match that kind of level of performance that Bridget Lynn's giving is no small act to do essentially. So it's very well done, very appropriate while she's in this film, obviously being mid-80s, very hot at the moment in terms of her performances and the films that she's coming off on. And I imagine something like this in terms of a bit more of a one location, Hitchcockian, more about the style, more about the cinematography, more about the kind of more drama-based performance, and building that tension, building that kind of subtle kind of performances and the facial reactions and the things you do, things you don't do. That is really key in this. And I think all three actresses really step up in this really well to kind of deliver a really intense little film about a situation that keeps going wrong, very similar to a traditional kind of like Rear Window or kind of a Big Nothing. You know, a plan is in place to basically get this money. The blackmailer is basically quite annoyed that, you know, she's leaving, and basically, okay, I'm going to end this very quickly. Okay, I'm going to send you Joey Wong's character, Queenie, to go and to get the money. And basically she's out in the party and things go wrong, things happen. And basically that's where the film kind of goes about. It introduces kind of new ideas in terms of a shotgun, which is pretty cool. There's knives, there's poison, all sorts of really cool little ideas that do take place, including a wardrobe, which takes a big kind of like, you know, tension-filled moment as well, which I really appreciated. And also the third act definitely steps it up a little bit with the car chase kind of sequence, which is really creative and how it's kind of used in terms of the rain and the lightning. I think it's all really fun, all really helps with the film. And I think the ending of the film specifically, without giving too much away, I think is very, very good. And it makes a lot of sense and it works. I think it's a interesting kind of conclusion to the film that reminds me a lot of, you know, Swimming with Sharks, if anyone's seen that film, which has a very kind of, I won't say too much, but I do feel there could have been one or two more scenes that could have really kind of helped that ending to kind of sell the ending a little bit more. Maybe one or two more scenes could have just kind of boosted it up a little bit to kind of get to that point. But I do really like it, and I think it's an interesting kind of conclusion ultimately. That's been my thoughts and opinions on Web of Deception. What are your thoughts, guys? Please comment down below. What is your favorite David Chung film? The lineup is done. Love to know your thoughts, guys. Please comment down below. So in time, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.